Claire has called from Highgate. Hello, Claire.
Sheila, hello, hi. First of all, I want to say something very, very clearly to anyone who's listening. The crime was appalling, deeply upsetting, and deeply disturbing, and I'm so sorry for the family. Number two, I am not in any way sympathising, quote unquote, or condoning the behaviour of this criminal.
How could you?
How could I? But I do want to make the point that this man has, first of all, is a very damaged individual. Now, the penal system is based on the concept of mad or bad. And the penal system is based on the idea of evil or people who are bad or deliberately doing wrong. My take on it is that if you are of balanced mind, then you are not going to commit crimes in this fashion. You can't and you won't, because it's not in your nature. This man was very, very deeply wounded, and all his life has acted out with aggression and violence. It all started when his father tried to drown his mother in a bath when he was a toddler. He has been in and out of prison for all his life. He's thoroughly institutionalized, and he was on license. He knew that he was now out in the world on his own, without friends, without a job, without a future, without any means of sort of psychically supporting himself. He knew he'd be going back into prison. The problem is that locking up deeply wounded people, caging them, as it says in the popular press, is not a solution. And that's my take on it. That was my first thought when I read this horrific story, was that this man knew he had nothing to lose.
Yeah, in an ideal world, it would be great, wouldn't it, if he could have been taken away from his violent background before he grew up, if he could have got the help he needed psychologically, social help, psychological help, a new home, hopefully, all the rest of it. And who knows what we can't say for sure because we don't know, but who knows what the outcome might have been. But when that doesn't happen, Claire, when that doesn't happen, I really do take on board what you're saying, but when that doesn't happen, and we know it often doesn't happen, there are men like him out tonight and tomorrow night and the next night and the next night, I'm afraid. There are plenty of men like him out in pubs and bars over Christmas and any day of the week. I'm afraid I can't. I think we can't afford to spend too much time lingering on coulda, shoulda, woulda with him. He can never be free again, is my view. He is feral, uncontrollable, an unexploded bomb of a human being. Please give him interesting things to do in prison. Go for your life. But he should never, ever be out again.
Yes. Okay, but then that applies to a huge number of damaged people who commit crimes every day of the week and violence every day of the week. It applies across society, Sheila.
Oh, I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying give up on fixing things. I'm saying let's be realistic. You think of the women, and I include myself in this, but certainly my first thought was for my nieces. Think of the people you want to protect from men like that. We don't have time to reclaim these streets. I want to, but I don't think for now we have time to. We don't have time to rub our chins about what we do about children in chaotic, violent homes. I think we know what to do, but we see policy failures and we see funding failures on that front time and time again. My priority is keeping women safe. And listen, policy plays a huge part in that. I'm not suggesting that reclaim these streets is a foolish desire and wish and campaign. It is not. I back it 100%. But in the here and now, and I back 100% early interventions where children live in houses full of violence. Get them out of there. Get them out of there. No questions asked.
But
we don't, Claire. We don't. And until we get that bit right, leave people like McSweeney in prison.
At a very early stage in his prison life, there could have been rehabilitation and therapy. There could have been. The problem is the whole of the penal system, which is punitive, and in prisons are dangerous. We know that men get beaten up. This man, this criminal, this violent criminal we're talking about, deeply disturbed, deeply angry, deeply frustrated, being locked up. All of that.
Yeah. I'm not
it's
saying
the penal system at large, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I'm not saying it's
underfunded, under-resourced.
Yeah. Underthought
so
out.
As you say, you're chucking people out into the street like this man. And
so
you're saying we want to reclaim the streets, of course.
So don't.
So don't. But also, this is also a person's life. And from a very early age, he was a human being who could have had a life, and he hasn't.
What about Zara's life? What about Zara's life? Zara's life.
Oh, there's no question. That is a futile. I mean, obviously.
No, it's not futile. The point I'm making is, I agree with you about the system being a mess.
Yeah.
And coming at it often from the wrong angle. Not always, but sometimes from the wrong angle when it comes to getting people, or at least attempting to get people fixed in some way and less dangerous. But given that they don't, given that it doesn't, given that we have the penal system we have, why the hell were we letting people like him have the space to kill Zara?
I agree with you. That if I may be so, and I don't want to be impolite, Sheila, but I think that's a simple version of a very much more complex story. And I know you want to keep it simple, that simple, but I'm saying that it can't be reductive.
I don't. You're misunderstanding me, Claire. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I said to my guest Harriet Wistridge, you and I know this isn't simple. She clearly knows it. You know it isn't simple. We know it isn't simple. Yeah. And I'm all for conversations about improving our penal system. I agree with you. But in the meantime...
underfunded, and men come out violent and angry with nothing to go to, no jobs, no friendships, no relationships.
To be fair, he went in violent and angry. We can't blame the penal system for that.
Well, of course, the whole history of it, of course, it's repetitive. But what a waste of money, public money, and what a waste of lives, not only his life, but of course his poor woman and her family and all of us who are upset about it.
They are related but separate questions, because my impetus today, what I feel today, is what I felt when I texted my nieces yesterday. In the meantime, how do we keep girls, particularly girls and women, safe from these men? Answer: keep them out of our way.
Well,
as opposed to what happens, which is we have to keep out of their way.
Well, I'm certainly not going to stop using the streets. I must say, I'm not going to live my life like that. You know, there was something there's something I heard about in New York years ago, which has stuck with me forever, and that was a violent, dangerous criminal who went on to murder a woman that night. Before he did so, he came up against another woman and was in her face and trying to get at her. And she stopped and screamed at him like a screaming banshee woman, you know, like a witchy, nasty, horrible woman character who was, you know, like pantomime evil, screamed at him very, very loudly in his face, and he retreated and went off, and 10 minutes later murdered someone else. You know, the response to people who are dangerous to us in the street. Okay, maybe this guy...
I don't think we can rely on our best banshee impression to scare off a murderous, violent man intent on sexually assaulting a woman, and as it turned out in her case, killing Zara. Claire, thank you for your call, Claire in Highgate. I think we agree more than you think we do.